Welcome to a discussion about the basics of health insurance. My name is Mike McCaffrey, and for the past 20 years, I've provided health plans for individuals, for families, for seniors, and for small businesses. Health insurance is the one personal insurance benefit people believe they just can't be without. And for good reason. After all, what's more important than being and staying healthy? But paying for good health care is not cheap. Sure, most of us could probably manage to pay for the occasional doctor's visit or to get a prescription filled every now and then. But what if you needed an emergency appendectomy? When you factor the cost of the procedure, operating room charges, anesthesia, a hospital stay of 1 or more days, and other ancillary services, you're talking about a bill in the neighborhood of $10,000 or $20,000. Health insurance helps you pay for all kinds of medical care, but it's particularly important at guarding against the catastrophic costs associated with expensive surgeries or the high cost of managing a chronic health condition. Where do Americans get their health insurance? Through one of two sources, private insurance or the government. The government provides health care coverage to millions of Americans through its Medicaid and Medicare programs. Today, however, I'm going to focus on the main source of health care coverage in America, private health insurance. 165 million Americans have what's known as group coverage, and the vast majority of us get our group coverage through work. What if you don't have access to group coverage? Individual health insurance is the ticket. Around 15 million Americans have individual coverage. There are two major advantages of group health plans for employees. First, most group health plans offer lower premiums and more comprehensive coverage than individual plans. More bang for your buck. Secondly, group health plans usually provide for guarantee issue or simplified underwriting for employees. This means workers are certain to be accepted, or at most they may be required to complete a short health questionnaire. This is a big difference for individual health plans. These plans require a person to provide details on their complete medical history, otherwise known as evidence of insurability. This requirement can lead to insurance companies denying coverage or possibly rating the policy, that is, adding 25 or 50% to the premium. Ouch! Another important feature of group coverage is a provision designed to provide transitional or continuous insurance coverage. Under a federal law known as COBRA, companies that offer group coverage must continue the coverage for up to 18 months for workers who are laid off or resign. The bad news is the employee has to pay the entire insurance premium. No more employer match. The good news is they get to keep their coverage until they find another job. Whether you qualify for group coverage through an employer or carry an individual plan, there are three main types of health insurance plans that may be available to you. The first is called an indemnity plan, and it allows for full choice of most any doctor or hospital. Indemnity plans pay a sizable percentage of what they consider the usual and customary charge for covered services in your area. The insurer generally pays 80% of the usual and customary costs, and you pay the other 20%, which is known as the coinsurance. With an indemnity plan, you also must pay a deductible. This is the amount of covered expenses you must pay before the insurer will start reimbursing you for your medical bills. These might range from $250 to $2,500 per year per individual, or $500 to $5,000 per family. Generally, the higher the deductible, the lower the monthly premium. The second type of health insurance is a variation on an indemnity plan called a Preferred Provider Organization, or PPO. PPOs also allow you to see any doctor anytime. But unlike an indemnity plan, a PPO negotiates discounts with doctors and hospitals and other providers, who then become part of the PPO network. When you see a physician in the network, you typically make a copayment, a fixed fee for service such as $25, and pay some coinsurance, for example, The insurer may reimburse you for 90% of the cost of the doctor's visit if you go to a provider within the network. When you see a physician out of the network, you usually still receive coverage, but at a lower level. For instance, the insurer might only reimburse you for, say, 70% of the cost and require a higher copayment. With a PPO, you'll also have to pay an annual deductible. The final type of plan is called a Health Maintenance Organization, or HMO. An HMO is really not health insurance. It is health care, or rather managed care. In return for a fixed fee, a primary care physician is contracted to coordinate all care. Most doctors' visits or routine procedures are covered completely, with relatively modest copays of perhaps $10 or $20, depending on the plan. Hospital services might require a larger copay, but still nothing like the cost of an indemnity or PPO plan. Most HMO plans require that you stay in their contracted network of doctors or hospitals. This means no automatic referral to your sister's favorite gynecologist or your best friend's sports doctor. You must go to those specialists that have contracts with the HMO. Some 75 million people choose this model of coverage. Why? Because of the combination of comprehensive coverage, little out-of-pocket expense, and often lower than average premiums. One way I've found to assist people in choosing is to ask them this hypothetical question. If you were told by your doctor that, unfortunately, you needed an operation, and he or she was referring you to a surgeon, would you be comfortable having that person treat you? Or would you insist on a second or maybe a third opinion from a doctor that you would want to pick? If you have little or no problem with the first option, you likely would be happy with an HMO plan. But if you want to say so and who will be treating you, you really should consider an indemnity or PPO type plan. Whether it be an indemnity, a PPO, or an HMO, most all of these plans offer comprehensive coverage. Most provide for well care visits, like adult and child physicals, and immunizations. Chiropractic is common, and acupuncture and other holistic treatments are becoming common. Procedures such as LASIK eye surgery and gastric bypass are becoming less common on medical plans. I want to return for a moment to an earlier discussion about individual coverage. If you don't have access to group coverage, then you'll definitely want to look into buying coverage on your own. But remember, individual health policies require applicants to show evidence of insurability. This means a person has to be reasonably healthy before they ask for a policy. What constitutes reasonable? Good question. You see, everyone thinks they are reasonably healthy. Some even admit to being in great shape. I always like to follow up with this question. Are you taking any medications now, or have you in the past 12 months? Quite often I get the reply, yes, I am. I take something for my blood pressure, cholesterol, back pain, asthma, anxiety, depression, diabetes, and so on and so on. But is it under control? Yes, it is, and I'm fine. But herein lies the problem. Let's say someone is in reasonable health, but takes a name brand pill to control his cholesterol. The health insurance company, considering him, knows it will be spending perhaps $150 per month just on this one condition. Hey, that's more than the monthly premium. You're right, which explains why this person might very well be declined for coverage. Most individual health insurance providers are not required to approve an application where someone is being treated for a condition that may cost a provider more than a few dollars. Here's another way to look at it. Say you went to your friendly auto insurance agent and asked him to insure your car. And, oh, by the way, could you pay to fix the dent in the fender? I did that last month. Of course, the auto carrier is not going to do this. And more, health insurance providers are denying people with these same pre-existing conditions. So, hopefully by now you have a clearer understanding of some of the details and the importance of health insurance. What does the future look like for consumers? I see a continued trend of people taking the time to really understand the choices they have and to look for the best value. An example of this is the increasing popularity of what are called consumer-driven health plans. These are plans that have higher deductibles and higher coinsurance limits, and along with them, much lower premiums. More and more consumers who don't have a history of high medical costs or have the financial means to meet a large deductible like the monthly premium savings these plans provide. Health savings accounts, or HSAs, are also gaining popularity. These special plans allow consumers to save dollars in order to meet out-of-pocket medical expenses, but on a highly tax-favored basis. Really good stuff. I am continually amazed at, overall, how many of my clients grudgingly accept higher health care costs, but are simply unwilling to make wholesale changes in their medical providers, and in turn their medical insurance. Yes, our healthcare system has its flaws. Any large system does. Yet it still provides some of the best care in the world, and hopefully this will never change. Thank you.